The time's 7 o'clock. We'll call our meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Madam Clerk, may I have the roll call, please?
David Walker. Soren Peterson.
Here.
Chuck Schultz.
Here.
Mike Cunningham.
Here.
Marna Smith. Here. Marcy Houston here, and Al is absent.
I think we're making some changes to the agenda. I believe item number 3 and item number 4 are going to come off. We're waiting for an escrow account before we proceed. So we'll take item number 3 and item number 4 off our agenda for tonight. Any other changes?
Nope.
So I'll entertain a motion. So moved.
Support.
Been motioned and supported to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Agenda is approved. Next is approval of the consent agenda, the regular board meeting minutes from July 11th, 2017, treasurer's report, and the clerk's warrants and bills.
I wanted to make comment on the name spelling in the minutes under number 7, that it's Langan, Langan.
So that's noted.
We do have a Langdon in the,
Langdon, I believe, was the
there, we do have a
Cider Mill.
Langdon, no, we have a homeowner with that last name.
So it's
But the
Langan.
correct, it's Langan, Langan for that agreement.
So moved with the revisions.
Support.
It's been motioned and supported to approve the consent agenda as amended. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have no communications, public remarks. If anybody would like to make any public comment, now's the time. Please stand, state your name and address. Okay, having none, we'll move on to new business. Item number 1 is discussion and potential action, if desired by the board, related to the petition under Chapter 6 of the Drain Code for Orchard Park Intercounty Drain. I think that, we've got a lot of information right now. I don't know that, I think maybe legal counsel should confer with the Drain Commissioner's office a little bit more before we take any action. I know that, we've seen some compelling evidence that, we still need to visit this. What are your thoughts on that, John?
Well, the options are residents initiate a petition or the township board petition.
Correct.
And I don't know enough about the project as it relates to the Livingston County portion only. It doesn't sound like you're going to get much support from Genesee County at the moment.
Right.
I guess I would need more information in talking to Ken in order to, and very frankly, the township, to see what you're willing to do.
Right.
Because you will be assessed as well. The township will be assessed a portion of the
Sure, we
drain.
understand that.
So, you are vested in, you have a vested
Sure.
interest in this as well. Is this a significant enough problem that the township wants to be involved in a solution?
Right. I don't know if anybody objects, but I think that we should still continue to carry on this conversation. I think that we have obviously seen, compelling evidence that we have a problem out here and then it needs to be addressed in some way. How we get there, how it gets done, still be determined whether, and I'm speaking kind of individually, but, the board may decide otherwise, but I think we should find out what the options are and what it looks like, potentially financially to the township if we try to fix just our portion, or what it looks like if we do an interjurisdictional drain agreement with Genesee County. Anybody have any thoughts? I mean, should we continue to move forward with this, or?
Mike,
Yes.
could I ask a question?
Sure.
How many Tyrone Township property owners are affected by flooding? As far as you know.
What, 4 or 5 houses, is it?
Well, that's just within our subdivision. There are upstream of us on Lobdell Road. There are some additional people that have mentioned they've had
Right.
flooding issues related to this.
Now, and I don't know if we've seen a 25-year event or a 50-year event in the last 10 years, but potentially it could be more. Or,
April was a heavy precipitation month,
right.
so there was enough accumulated precipitation. Fair amount of flooding emergency response in the central part of the county. Haven't seen a classic 100-year, 24-hour storm, I don't think. But clearly, with that retention basin taking on 200 acres of tributary, when it's designed for 50 acres of tributary, you're not going to need a 100-year, 24-hour storm to create the kind of Orchard Park condominium.
So it is important to figure out the financial end of it towards the township, if we can get estimates. I'm just curious, because if it ends up being just within the county, there's obviously going to be new drainage put in, new infrastructure. So is a drain at large for a cost of the township, is that going to fluctuate? You're going to have larger amounts due at the beginning, and does that fluctuate because then you're only just maintaining it down the road? Or, I'm just trying to look at numbers, I'm not familiar. I know we pay at drainage at large currently, every year I've been here, we pay over $10,000 now for drains at large to the county. And we're just gonna add more to that, and we gotta take that into consideration, the expense of doing business for our townships, for health, public safety. But I don't know how does that work, this is gonna be new
Right.
product.
And we have an engineer that has designed this and looked at this. I think that possibly that our township engineer should look at it too, to see if there's something that was missed, or if there's an alternate solution that might have a better cost benefit. And then also too, Mr. Protashevitz is quite a whiz with the drain code, and I'd like to have him comment on, you know, where he feels that our liability as the township falls in
At
this.
least get his insight
At
on
least get
it.
some insight from him.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we should have some more meetings with the drain commissioner's office, our engineer, and look at some other solutions and figure out what might work best, but
At least get an idea of what the expense is gonna be to the township.
Yeah.
So you can
Can I
sort
ask Ken a
of plan
question?
and budget.
sure.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask, Ken, so assuming that you went the alternative of, rather than interjurisdictional, if you went to strictly to Livingston County, is that going to resolve the issue? I mean, are we Band-Aiding a problem that's much broader, meaning that,
Well,
or is this funding? I mean, I'm just asking, is this a funding issue, or is it,
let's say, I'm putting this the right way, but if I wanted to play devil's advocate, maybe we say 15%. But then I'm having to take that, it's a $900,000 cost. So if I somehow knock that nut down to 800,000, but I only have 30% of the property to spread it over, I'm no further ahead.
right?
So that's the fear in terms of not going the route of making it an inter-county drain, is that there's enough land area in the township that happens to drain to that point in Lobdell Road that my opinion is that Benton Township's property should contribute to this.
They should have the lion's share of the cost because of the amount of,
And going through a chapter 3 or 3 and 4, or even a chapter 20 county petition, I have no ability, just like the township has no ability to assess, outside of our corporate boundary.
Sure.
So that's the primary concern.
And I guess my secondary concern is if we were to fix the problem only on the Livingston County side, is that going to still be exacerbated by the amount of flow you're getting from Genesee County?
correct.
If proper capacity is available at the point where we're picking up the water, the system should be able to work to remediate stress that are happening in the Orchard Park condominium. If there's enough inlet capacity, where do we pick up that water, which would be at Lobdell Road?
Having said that, then we're creating that capacity because of the problem they're creating.
I think that's a fair characterization, yes.
Okay.
I have nothing further. So do you think that we need to just eliminate the discussion of a Livingston County drain only?
Are you asking me? If you're asking me, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. I think these guys have to pay.
Does anybody disagree
the
with
freight
that? Yeah.
I mean, I guess that was the point of my question.
So I think we should, yeah, go ahead, Zorn.
Anything you have that you dam up, basically, in Genesee County, is going to, at some point in time, overcome that, and come down
Sure.
into the area we're talking
Yeah,
about.
well, the proposed drain does not dam anything up. It takes the existing flow from the county and increases our capacity in order to handle their flow, which was never really taken into consideration when they routed their flow into this retention pond. So we're gonna fix that. That's the whole scope of the proposed project is, we're not gonna dam anything up or stop their flow. We can't, state doesn't allow us to do that, drain code doesn't allow us to do that. We will accept the flow, but they're gonna pay for their flow coming to the county if a proposed interjurisdictional agreement is reached.
But Ken, don't you
Understand?
have to get easements from all of the freeholders that drain is traversing? And how easy is it going to get easements from Genesee County residents?
Well, the petition gives us the ability, which we don't like to use, but it's there. The petition enables condemnation power if we need to take the easements by force. It's a choice of last resort, so it's not something that.
There's usually some cost associated with that.
And there's some cost
So when you don't
associated
obtain, when you
with
don't
that.
obtain easements, it increases cost. If you have to change the route of the drain due to not being able to, it's gonna affect the cost.
That's correct.
Any resistance to the project will create additional costs.
That's correct. Now, Mr. Marks, I believe, was the older gentleman from one of the earlier public meetings here. He's the first gentleman on the north side of the county line. At a minimum, I think, in order for the job to be effective, we do culvert under Lobdell Road. How much further upstream we need, in my opinion, in order to effectively address the issue. I don't think we need to go further. It was agreed to extend it further because that was preference, that they were basically going to be paying the majority of the bill. That was, but if this is where we're at now, we can shorten it up. And I've discussed this with Genesee County informally, and they're willing to consider the agreement.
So clarify for me then, if I understand correctly, it doesn't sound like we have the correct number of petitioners to file for Chapter 6.
Using a landowner, yes, using a landowner signature petition, no, we do not currently.
So our best approach, if we're going to go down this path, is go Chapter 5.
Well, we already have the Chapter 5.
So already-
There's two petitions.
Right.
The Chapter 5.
Yeah, clarify that for me, will you?
Sets up the watershed, sets up
Got
the
it.
drain special assessment.
Okay.
And the Chapter 6 petition actually asks the Intercounty Drainage Board
okay.
to build the improvements to serve
Going
that
south.
special assessment.
Okay, got it.
And it can be done by petition or by either municipality initiating it. So Fenton Township could resolve to initiate it, or Tyrone Township can resolve to initiate it.
Okay.
That was why I was asking the question earlier of the shareholders or stakeholders in Tyrone Township, do we have enough signatures just from the Tyrone Township side? And the answer to
Yeah.
that was yes. There's enough interest from our residents to go forward.
I think if you're going to be as expedient as possible with this, I think probably the simplest solution is that we should initiate it and find out what the numbers are, and let's start having the conversation with them.
Are you willing to do that tonight? Or do we need to find more information? I would seek to
I'd like to.
ask
a
legal
little
opinion
more
on that.
information.
More of a policy decision than a legal issue. It sounds like if you're keeping the drain within Livingston County, it's going to cost everybody in Livingston County substantially more, is what I'm hearing Ken say. And then if you're going to do an inter-county drain, the key becomes convincing the third member of that board of the importance of the drain because of the actions of Genesee counties, intentionally or otherwise, affecting the Livingston County, Tyrone Township residents. So it becomes, it sounds like a inter-county drain is the route to go. You have an estimate at the moment, 900?
900,000, that's
So
correct.
we kind of know what the estimate's going to be. We don't know how it's proposed to be divided, which I think we should know that. But if you feel comfortable with the proposed division, then it becomes a question of, having the municipality authorize the petition, and then try to convince the third member of the board need and necessity for our relief for our township residents.
So John, clarify for me then, if we make this resolution tonight, then what we're really doing is we just are continuing the exploration to move on to the next step to seat the board and,
Well, that starts the process, though. I mean, when you file you authorize this, and you can authorize this, but if you actually file a petition with the Intercounty Drain Board, you're triggering the event. I mean,
so absent doing this, how would we determine what the percentages are and what the actual dollar costs would be?
best estimate would be working with Ken, and that would only be a best estimate because there's a whole lot of...
I don't think we know the answer until we achieve all the,
I mean, I guess that's my question, is there anything that would prevent us from doing this, that would provide greater clarity in the future? Absent that, tell me why we would stop at that point.
I would defer to Ken on
Okay.
how you apportion the cost, because that's what you're concerned about, is ultimately, if we proceed ahead,
It is, but it sounds like a catch-22. It sounds like I can't actually do that until we move on with the resolution.
we
So
can...
what I'm getting is best guesstimates at this
Yes,
point.
absolutely you are. And
Okay.
Yes, that's exactly what you're getting.
because there's been a preliminary study done.
Right.
Right.
The preliminary study looked at the acreage in both counties. And, just based on an acreage perspective, the project looks, like I said before, approximately two-thirds, 60 to 66% Fenton Township, 33 to 40% Tyrone Township and Livingston County. And the way that we divide that, historically in Livingston County, at least for as long as I've been here, the local unit of government is assessed 25% of the cost at large.
Okay.
Okay, and that's spread over a number of years, whatever the duration of the note or the bond. The counties assessed a portion of those costs. Historically, over the time I've been here, the county's been assessed approximately 35% of that cost. And 40% of the cost then the The remaining 40% is spread to properties in the special assessment district.
Okay.
So is the cost likely to decrease if you shorten the route?
There will be some savings in earthwork at the upper end of the system, but the earthwork at the upper end of the system is going to be minor in comparison to the construction at the bottom, because it's at the bottom of the system really where we're trying to build the most capacity into it. So,
And if I understand what you said earlier, while you'd be shrinking that by anecdotally 15%, you're spreading that over a smaller group, and
Right.
we'd be taking, yeah.
that's correct.
Yeah, we're not real pleased about that one.
There's another,
So,
another
just to be clear.
issue that gets addressed with this drainage, is the ice dam flow from the wetlands at, would be
Linden.
west of Linden Road, north of Bennett Lake Road. Was that still factored into this project? Remember we had a discussion about
The
that?
large swampy area
Yeah.
to the west of that intersection of Owen and Linden? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in, but that's, at this point in time, according to Tyrone Township, there were no pending development plans for that parcel. They would need to, that parcel were to develop, to probably access the drain and prevent from creating another issue.
I think I was talking about the one on Linden and Bennett Lake Road.
Oh, yes, the one
Nice.
on, down towards the outlet, yes.
Yep.
We'd be able to address that.
Because we've had ice flowing over the road, what happens is that swamp down there freezes up, wind starts blowing or whatever, we start getting some current, and it starts pushing ice up over to the road.
I got a quick question. No matter what happens, this won't be done by next spring, right? And that's typically when the biggest problem is, when the melt off and
No,
the
this would
rains
at
start.
the earliest this would start would probably be midsummer next year.
Right, so,
If the stars align, it's gonna take,
there's another punishment potentially coming regardless next spring, early summer.
the
So-
advantage when we have that.
Been going on
The more time that gives us to try to
2011.
get Genesee County involved as well, right? So why would we jump the gun right now
Yeah.
and put our liability on the line for this problem
I
right
think
this second?
the goal, obviously the problem's been existing for years. How long has discussions been going on between Livingston County Drain Commissioner and Genesee County Drain Commissioner on this? A year, 2 years now? 2 years?
2 years, 2.5 years, yeah.
And the goal is to try to have an inter-county drain so that everyone's fairly sharing
Right.
in the cost. Are we at a point where, are we at that wall now?
Yeah, is there
It
more,
is.
is there another way we can
I
keep
guess the-
working on Genesee County to join in on this?
I think the petition in terms of, Genesee County is not in an ideal position here. They were not involved in the review of the developments that occurred in Fenton Township. The closest drain they have in Fenton Township to this particular Egyptian drain, which I think runs closer to US 23, Virgin North. So they really, my impression has been is that I need to drive this. So I can only drive this with somebody else petitioning. Point, because all I can do until I get that Chapter 6 petition is facilitate. So,
I mean, if we want to have more insight from the engineer, but I think we need to get a point where we move forward on this. It's-
Ken's figures of 900,000, and the county acreage is 40%, that's 360,000 for Livingston County portion. And then if you take the historical 25% that the municipality would pick up, that's 90 grand estimated exposure to Tyrone Township
Yeah.
if the project were to go through.
Which would be spread over a 20-year assessment.
As an inter-county.
That's with Genesee involved,
That's an
though.
inter-county.
The other way,
So we
you're only
figured
knocking that
somewhere
down to
between 8 and 10
800
grand a year is
grand.
what it would end up costing us.
The township portion would now be 200 grand,
Yes.
Yeah.
and then the residents are now floating
A higher
600
number.
grand.
Well,
So it's a huge difference.
yeah, they're getting the lion's share of this.
And we're solving some of their problem.
I would would be interested to see what
I would,
our engineer that has
we have a meeting in a week.
drain,
I would,
in the
I
drain
would, I would
department.
like to talk to our engineer a little bit more on this and actually get the right resolution language on the agenda for this.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, one week is not gonna matter.
I have the resolution here if you want.
We'll,
You don't have to, no, you know, it is what it is.
right.
Pretty basic public.
Well,
health.
and I'd like to make it part of the board packet to make it clean, you know what I mean? I don't like throwing and passing resolutions when they're not part of the board packet, so, I've made that pretty clear in the past, so I would like, if the board's willing, let's move down that, I think Marna, Marcy, and I have some conversation with our engineering firm, Spicer.
Yep.
We've got
We have it
the
on the
language,
next
we can
agenda.
include it in the board packet, and, we can move on it for next week, and I know there's some people here, but I just want to make sure that we're doing it right.
Can I ask one final question?
Sure,
just to
absolutely. Ask all
clarify?
the questions.
So assuming that we were to fail in the interjurisdictional, meaning if we were unable to bring Genesee County into the game,
Yes.
that does not preclude us from moving forward with the option of Livingston County going alone, right?
No.
There's nothing that stops us from doing that.
It just prevents
Right.
us from levying any tax on the north side of that municipal boundary.
Right, so the ideal scenario is why wouldn't we do this and try to drag these guys to the table if that's the case and do it that way? Because it's still an alternative. It doesn't preclude us from moving forward with strictly doing it on the Livingston County side, right?
There are plenty of drains that serve areas outside the counties where the drain doesn't extend outside the jurisdiction. Absolutely.
Okay, that's fine. I'm good with that.
Thanks. All right, so that's what we'll do with that. And then we'll move on to item number 2, request to hire replacement assessor to fill vacancy. As you know, last year we hired another assessor to help us in our assessing office because of the state requirements, and it's just, we're growing and we needed another person in place. Our current assessor is getting close, his contract's up, and he's made some comments that he might not renew his contract next year. So we wanted to get somebody in there. Well, what we're finding is that there's less and less assessors out there. And I know that we've already approved this in the budget, but I just want to ask the board, we may have to amend our budget next year in order to hire somebody. So I wanted to ask the board to make sure, to allow the clerk, the assessor, and the supervisor to hire somebody. Not saying that we will have to amend our budget, but we may. I mean, we do have money available in our budget for it, but we might have to amend that line item because we might have to pay somebody a little bit more money.
You meant the clerk, the treasurer, and the supervisor, right?
The clerk, the treasurer, and the
Okay.
supervisor. Yep.
I think you said assessor.
You said assessor. That's okay.
It seems, if we don't have an assessor, we can't even do business.
Yeah.
We can't even send out our tax bills, so we might have to actually pay a little higher to attract and maintain and hold somebody.
Got it.
Support.
Been motion and supported to hire replacement assessor to fill the vacancy. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. We've removed item 3 and 4. We have no miscellaneous business, public remarks. Anybody have any comments or?
Gordon Tomaszewski, 11482 Orchard Parkway. I know the discussion you're talking about, we potentially just having Livingston County look at handling this drain issue. Like everybody's mentioned, the only thing I see as a resident, we've already suffered a pretty difficult financial burden within our subdivision.
Right.
Several homeowners, $50,000, $20,000, substantial amount of damage to their homes. And a lot of them, they don't have coverage for this issue anymore. Their insurance companies will not take care of the claims due to it being a flood issue. So what my whole thought is first off, is there is somebody, that we know is culpable for our problem, or at least a great percentage of our problem. And to me, if we did the Livingston
Right.
County only portion of it, it
Sure.
appears to me then you're letting them off the hook. And
And that-
and the other thing is, but then the proportion of the bill that the residents within that district would have would be substantially higher.
Agreed.
And
Yeah.
right now, just potentially doing rough math, I
Sure.
came up with $3,500 based on our 40% being spread amongst, both counties.
Right.
If we didn't do that, now you're looking at burdening the residents, especially people who've
Sure.
been afflicted, you know, by their water, and now you're at least doubling their cost. And I think, you know, that the township needs to look at protecting its citizens in
Right.
the most financially responsible way.
Yeah, we discussed that, and I think the census is that we're looking at the IJD as IJA, interjurisdictional agreement, as opposed to Livingston County. You know, but we have to, you know, kick everything around here and make sure that we're doing the right thing, so I don't think that, unless I'm wrong, I don't think
Something
we're,
still has to be done.
something still has to be done, but I don't think we're looking at that option, so.
Okay.
Yes,
What is
name and address, please.
Paul Phelps, 9009 Apple Orchard?
Thank you.
What is the problem with Genesee's involvement? I mean, what is their objection?
Well, I can answer that question. They have developed,
It's not my fault.
more or less, yeah, you're right. Water leaves my house, it goes into your county, it's not causing any problems in my county, you guys deal with it. Well,
Timelines, too.
it's your flow, so, I mean, it started out the retention pond was built, and it was designed for so many acres, and they developed more acres and tapped into it, and it created a problem.
How was that, you know, with rules and all that, how was that able to go through then?
Because at that time, they didn't have that criteria to be met.
Yeah,
When that was
and it happened
expanded.
years ago, so. Things have changed a lot since then. Science has changed, topography.
But as
Well,
people
we-
that live on Lobdell have said, it's something that's gone on for forever. You know, it was a known problem to begin with, before, you know, this subdivision was put in.
Yeah,
I-
Drain Commissioner can answer those questions.
Mr. Burrell, if, here.
There he is.
Okay, so, Burrell talked about the fact that he came to a meeting, I think, was it here at the township?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of meetings here at the township.
So, he talked about this issue being brought to the fore. You know, back in 1998, when the Orchard Park site plan was developed, there wasn't the amount of topographic data available that's available today. So, clearly, either I don't want to say knowingly, let's say unknowingly, the individuals that engineered the condominium also engineered some condominiums in Benton Township that sent that water down to the retention basin. So, you know, there's history there, and my understanding is when the sanitary line went up Lobdell Road, that the road commission had part of that ditch, got Mr. Marks' permission to dig that ditch partway down to the county line, but all that did was load the gun, and it pointed it at his property back there, Mr. Burrell. So, there's some history here, but at this point, I can change that with what we have now.
And we've looked at who the engineer and who the engineering firm was, and they're long gone. So
I mean,
chase it,
What I
right.
understand also is, you know, the state regulations with condo developments is different than a regular subdivision as far as,
Correct.
you know, where's some responsibility there too on
Well,
our
you know,
legislators, you know?
right. Well, you know, and we've looked back and we've tried to, you know, find liability, and we just can't find it. So what we have is a problem, and we need a solution, and so that's what we're trying to achieve.
How many properties are there in the Tyrone part of the district, or
Ken has
in the
those
total?
37.
He can tell you the total, and he can also tell you the amount in Tyrone Township.
Put all that stuff away.
See? Thought you were gonna make a clean escape. Feel free to use the table right there.
I don't know the number off the top of my head. It's about, I want to say it's 200 parcels roughly in Benton Township, roughly 100 parcels in Livingston County. Those are just very rough numbers.
I think it was 70.
Okay,
70 or
maybe
72.
70 is, it's twice the number of parcels in Benton Township, roughly. The acre difference in the number of acres and number of parcels assessed is pretty proportional.
Answer your questions? Thanks. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Clarification, what's Ken's title and last, name and
He's
title?
Deputy Drain Commissioner, Livingston County. Yes, sir.
Richard Verrill, 9075 Apple Orchard Drive. I just got one question. That the retention area down there at Orchard Parkway, was that man-made or was that just a naturally occurring hole?
Ken, you were around a lot longer than me.
That was a naturally occurring depression that was to be reshaped as part of the development of that Orchard Park condominium.
Yeah, you gotta realize that, that whole area out there was all agriculture at one time. So that's, Genesee County didn't care where their water went, and neither Livingston County really.
Because it all went in the ground, and most of it was used for growing crops.
And whoever approved the subdivision down at Orchard Parkway, they're the ones that are really at fault. Not the engineer so much, but the people that approved it without going and doing their homework.
Yeah. There's been numerous people that have tried to establish liability in this, and
And whether it's the township or the county or the building department or whoever it is, somebody goofed up.
yeah,
And
I mean, we could start pointing fingers and file a lawsuit and go through years and years and years of litigation, and it will cost billions of dollars, and we still won't have a solution.
Like Kim was saying, I came in here and I tried to
No, no,
forewarn
that's
them.
what
I
we
tried
just
to
got-
say,
we
you
just got
better
stuck
think,
with it.
I told the
Yeah.
engineer, you better think twice about building those houses down there in that cul-de-sac. I said, because there's a ton of water flows down there. Starts right north of me and comes into my backyard and goes. It goes across 3 of our properties there, right, Sherry?
It's gallons technically, not tons.
And they go, and when it's flowing, it's flowing. There's
Something to be said
thousands
for
of
local
gallons.
knowledge, huh?
Yeah, there's thousands of gallons of water going through there.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it. Yeah, it's a lot, so. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
One more question.
Absolutely.
Comment. Ed Novacek, 9040 Apple Orchard. Again, our project, which we thought we were going to come here and do it, we're trying to improve our road. And now between this, it looks like it's going to take 3 or 4 years to get fixed. We can't improve our road. The county's not maintaining it correctly because we have holes in our subdivision, and the road and all that stuff too. We're trying to improve our, subdivision. We can't move ahead and do anything to ours because of all this. So your problems are growing
Yeah.
by not addressing this. And the thing is, that we have to force somehow Genesee County the money for putting the water into our area. Otherwise, why can't we dam it up? Either that or charge them excessive amounts, like you guys are used to put the water into that area. Can we dig it deeper? We gotta come up with a solution because again, why isn't our road being maintained? We can't do anything now. You're considering our road as a private road because it's just the one road through our subdivision. The county's supposed to be maintaining it. You ask me, the maintenance part of it is not happening.
There's not much maintenance going on any of the roads.
Yeah, we noticed that too.
Yeah, so, yeah,
But again,
it's
we're
not,
paying-
it's, right.
We're paying taxes,
Right.
we're doing all this, we're doing our share. This is
Yeah.
not happening.
But if we could at least move forward on
Sure.
when that drain, because they even had talks about how they could try to accommodate. It's just wanting to know if we're moving forward with this drainage district.
Right.
Once you know it, they can at least accommodate the going under or preparing that. So if you did do the road now, we don't want to damage the road, but if we can
It's a
accommodate to go
systematic
under
approach.
I
it,
agree,
yeah.
but again,
Yeah.
to do our road
Right.
properly and do it the right way, we gotta wait 3 years.
Now you're waiting, yeah.
Now, do you think that road's gonna be maintained for 3 years more? You might as well put a dirt road in there. we're not paying for a dirt road. Our property taxes aren't. paying.
They'll use them,
No.
yeah.
You know, we shouldn't be put on the back burner either.
Yep. We understand. So-
It's frustrating. Our part.
Oh, yeah.
You can't do anything.
Yeah, I hear
I
it.
understand their issue and everything too.
Yep. Absolutely. Anyone else? Okay. Since we have no more public comments and we're done with our business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
It's been motion and second to adjourn our meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming, your comments, and
So you're your grandpa again?
Again.
Congratulations.
number 5.
A lot of video.